Ladies and gentlemen, Geri Petito.
I'm not an addict, I'm just an ass. And in time, this too shall pass. I'm not an addict, I'm just an ass. Geri Petito taught the class. I'm not an addict, I'm just an ass. Loves the answer, the greener grass. I'm not an addict, I'm just an ass. One day at a time, free at last.
When you don't know just what to do,
Just what to do, just what to do.
if what you're feeling is really true,
Is it really true? Is it really true?
just keep your ideas safe and sound.
Safe and sound, safe and sound.
That's exactly how change is found.
Change is found, change is found. I'm not an addict, I'm just an ass. And in time, this too shall pass. I'm not an addict, I'm just an ass. Geri Petito taught the class. I'm not an addict, I'm just an ass. Loves the answer, the greener grass. I'm not an addict, I'm just an ass. One day at a time, free at last.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Geri Petito Show. Everyone and anyone who knows me knows I am the author of I'm Not an Addict, I'm Just an Ass. I'd rather be a smart ass than a dumbass. Because, guys, 33 years ago, I was a dumbass. But today, 33 years later, through the grace of God, I can honestly say now I'm a smart ass. Yes, the word ass is in the Bible at least 40 times, and it means donkey, and that's what I was. I'm saying all that to say this. You know, there are a lot of people out there still struggling with health, with addiction, even with recovery. So I want everyone to know someone is listening. I'm a nutritional health coach. I'm also a recovery coach. All my services to you are free. Please, please reach out. If you think my book can help someone, because I sure do, you can go right to Simon & Schuster's bookstore, Archway Publishing, BAM, Amazon, Barnes & Noble. You can go to my website, www.geripetito.com. And guys, please subscribe to the Geri Petito Show YouTube channel. That's where you can see all these cool shows. Now listen, if you truly, truly, truly cannot afford my book, please, please reach out to me about that as well. I'm here to help you. Before I introduce my really cool guests, I want to give a shout out to a few of my sponsors. So first I've got Ken Ryan and Linda Garofalo, The Way It Used to Be, singing songs from the 50s to the 80s, a tribute show to the greatest music and voices of all time. And guys, Ken also does some Elvis for me, so thank you very much. And they are two beautiful people inside and out. They do so many great shows, you know, they give back. Let's just say they give back, fundraisers and everything. They're amazing. Okay, then I've got John Bishop, a.k.a. Johnny B., singer, songwriter, host of the Entertainment Luncheon South, a nonprofit network created for the creative. Facebook group page, Entertainment Luncheon South, partner in the Joey D. and Johnny B. Rockin' Oldies Band. And I want to give a shout out to him and his wife, Linny, because once a month they put on this incredible luncheon. And guys, it's by invite only. If you say you know me, they might let you in. It's $20. You get a great lunch and you get great entertainment. We've even had entertainers fly in to be here, okay? And guess what? They don't keep a penny of it. So what they're doing is unbelievable. They promote us like nobody does, okay? They promote all the entertainers, the radio people. It's amazing. So shout out to them. I want to give a shout out to Paula Ann from Ablaze Entertainment and Freedom Rings Festival, helping survivors of human trafficking to live a life of normalcy. And the Geri Petito Show is also one of their sponsors, www.freedomringsfestival.com. So those are the sponsors for today. Now I want to introduce my incredible guest, okay, Greg Rapport. Say hello.
Hi, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here. Thanks.
So I've known this guy for a while now. He's been a part of Hamilton Radio forever. This guy is a comedian, singer-songwriter, really, if we think about it, right? Singer-songwriter, comedian, you know what that means, guys. All right, you're in for a treat today. And we are not responsible. We are not responsible for what he says. Anyway, he's really cool, and he's also got a great heart. So before we get into the comedy and all that, Greg, we titled the show Age Out Angels. Why don't we start there, please?
Age Out Angels is an organization that I started about 8 or 9 years ago when I was actually going to retire. I was done. We were going to go to Boca and fish. That was the plan.
Okay.
But I went to the library and I found a book there by Martha Shirk called On Their Own.
Okay.
And it detailed about 10 or 11 chapters of what happens to young people when they age out of the foster care system. And I got to tell you, it hit me like a thunderbolt. Have you ever had that feeling like of a calling? I always heard that like related to like the priesthood or something when I was
Addiction,
little,
recovery,
right?
yes.
Calling. And so I read this book, and it just hit me like a thunderbolt, and changed all the plans to retire and go south and start an organization that would help children when they age out of foster care. So we started that 8 years ago, and today I can tell you that we have the single best alternative high school and jobs program in the country. No one has a program like we do. May I hold this up?
Absolutely.
Maybe you can zoom in on it a little bit. This is our program. It's called Bridges to Employment. And what it does is it helps people who may never even have had a chance to finish high school. I mean, foster kids have it pretty hard. They move them around from place to place. Try studying math when you're being moved every 2 months, right? There's no continuity in your education. Eventually, you get frustrated, drop out. That mires them to minimum wage for the rest of their lives. That's not good, right?
Right.
So we developed this program called Bridges to Employment, where if a child can't come to school, it's no big deal. We'll give them a virtual private tutor. And with a virtual private tutor, you can do a full grade level in 8 weeks. It's amazing how it works when you're not, in a classroom with all kinds of other stuff going on. So we have this program called Bridges to Employment. They get their education, all right, but that's not where it stops. Once you get that education, then you qualify for all kinds of training where you can go from like having nothing to starting at $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 a year. I was talking to a young lady the other day and I noticed that she had kind of a physicality that was strong, right? And she's one test away from getting her GED. And I just said to her, your hands are stronger than mine. Have you ever considered welding? And even though it sort of sounds funny, I say, you'd be the only girl, right? They would love you, they would embrace you, and you'd be making $60,000, $80,000 a year in no time. You wouldn't need social services anymore, you wouldn't need Section 8 housing. You get yourself a real house, and a real car, and that's what we want to do, is we want to help these children who would never have graduated college, high school. They just would never, they'd be flipping burgers for the rest of their lives, and put them in a position where they can join us in the middle class, find joy, fall in love, get married, have a family. That's what we do. And I think we do it better than anyone in the country.
Okay, so you started this?
Yeah.
How was that journey?
Arduous.
I'm sure.
It was long. I mean, come on. I went to the library and got inspired, right? Came home. Yeah, I got this great idea, right? I'm going to do all this stuff. My biggest mistake, I think, when I started it, was thinking that people would be as excited as I was once they learned about it. Because I figured nobody knows this stuff. What happens to foster kids is swept under the rug.
Right.
All right?
Right.
So I figured once I tell the world, then everybody will join me. There'll be, like millions of people trying to help foster kids, okay? Big mistake there. Everybody's got their own troubles, Some people have time to help out, but generally speaking, people have their own issues that they have to deal with, So I had initially said to my wife, give me 2 years. And 2 years turned into 5.
Okay.
And then at 5 is when we hit on the Bridges to Employment program. I made a partnership with Mercer County Community College. All the pieces started to fall into place, the funding, everything to go with it. So it took 5 years to really kind of get it off the ground. And in the middle of that was the pandemic, where we thought maybe we were just out of business because donations dried up, right? No one wanted to mentor a child at that point because children didn't want to take vaccines and adults did, and there was, all this back and forth, and nobody wanted to help anybody. And I thought we're out of business. And working with Mercer County Community College, a lady named Peg Gold at the time, we put this program together, and it's just in its, 4th year now.
Okay, so you know what's sad, very sad, that these children that are fostered end up homeless. A lot of them end up homeless, right?
50% within 6 months of aging out will be homeless. And many of them, like, don't really realize that they are homeless sometimes. Like, you'll say to somebody, do you have a place to live? And they go, yeah. Okay, where is it? Well, I'm sleeping on my friend's couch.
Gotcha.
By definition, you're homeless. You can be
Gotcha.
tossed at any moment, right? You can be thrown out at any time. You're a homeless person. You don't have any control over where you live. Eventually, they get tossed out and they become legitimately homeless. They look for another couch. It's a waste of time.
What are we doing wrong in this country?
What are we doing wrong? Boy,
What are we doing wrong?
It's, it's such a tough question because the numbers are so huge. Think about the numbers of children in foster care. You're looking at 400,000 children across the country. That's just a gigantic number. So the federal government says, well, we can't have one cookie cutter way of treating all these children. So they send block grants out to states. And the state's job now is to administer that money. And, New Jersey, believe it or not, is one of the better ones. We just got out from under federal supervision. We were under federal supervision in New Jersey for about 20 years for a lawsuit back in, 2005 or something like that. And so the federal government was overseeing New Jersey's program for the last 20 years. In the process of climbing out, we're considered one of the better ones. But it doesn't matter, and I'll tell you why. It's like that thing where people say we've gotten rid of 90% of the lead in homes. And everybody goes, yay, isn't that wonderful? Well, guess who lives in the other 10% of those homes? It's the people that I work with. They're still living with the lead. So whatever reforms are supposed to happen don't necessarily reach everyone, right? And there's a lot of reasons for that. Like if you ever go to a soup kitchen, right, where they're giving meals to people who are in poverty, essentially, right? And you look around that room of the soup kitchen, you very rarely see children. You see adults, and they're being served, and it's wonderful, Don't stop. But where are the children? And the children aren't there because so many parents have learned that if they expose themselves as parents who need help, they're bringing themselves one step closer to having their children taken away.
Right.
Okay? I know a woman who went in the hospital to deliver a baby, tested positive for Oxycontin or something like that, took the kid away right there in the hospital and her other three. So the system is not viable with the number of people who need the help. That's really what it is. And so, without a tremendous restructuring of how we raise children, if we could do it in such a way so that it could be, raising children could be a neighborhood event, where there's a part in the neighborhood that gets subsidized to take the daycare. And then everybody else can go to work without having to worry about their children. If there's a way that neighborhoods could be structured in that way, it is possible, that people would be able to earn proper livings and get off of all of the subsidies and everything else. But the way things are right now, everything that gets fixed is just a Band-Aid without, something more centrally organized to help people. So that's, what we do, like, we're considered a CMO, a care management organization.
Okay.
And there's about 800 care management organizations throughout New Jersey. And so each one of us finds a place where there's a gap and tries to fill that gap. And in our case, it's education to employment. That's what we're interested in. The children have been terribly traumatized.
Right, I'm sure.
Many times in their biological families, horribly traumatized, and then traumatized yet again when they're yanked from that family. Even if we know it's better for them, they don't know that. They just know, you're taking me away from my mommy. Thank you. So I'm just giving you such a long-winded answer to a question that can't be answered.
But that was beautifully said. Years ago, my daughter is now 44, actually. 43. My daughter's 43. And when she was only 17, a cousin of mine, you know, her husband died of overdosing, and then a couple years later, she was a mess. And her mother died, and we're at the funeral. Something went on in the funeral. I'll tell you after the show
Okay.
that you will not you will believe.
Yeah.
And when that happened at the funeral, I grabbed her and threw her in the ladies' room with me, and I said, "We are kidnapping your children. We will be at your house tomorrow." And this was in Long Island. We had to go.
Wow.
She was like, "Okay, okay." I said, "Or I will beat you." And me and my brother went and kidnapped her 3 children, and one of them was only 6, and we had them for 2 years. So everybody's okay now.
Good.
But I get it. And when it comes to children, that's the hard part here. The adults have, rights to their own decisions, right? So whatever they put themselves in, okay, but not when children are involved. So that's where we all have to step up to the plate here. And what you're doing is unbelievable. Unbelievable, Greg, okay? And, all right, so one more question about this, and
Okay.
then we'll have some fun here, okay?
Sure.
All right, so now the children that you have helped, a lot of them are grown now?
Well, I will tell you that the first person who entered our organization,
Okay.
and she's now, 27, I think,
Okay.
27, 28. We're still in touch with her.
Okay, good.
But many of the children are from the last 3 or 4 years. So
Okay.
they started with us when they were 18, 19.
Okay.
They're now 21, 22. And I am still in touch with many of them. We've sent kids to college.
Okay.
That was
That's
pretty
beautiful.
cool. Actually, this week we're sending someone to Mercer County Community
beautiful.
College. Yeah, it's just phenomenal when they see it. And also, you should know that I bribe them a little bit. I give them monetary treats when they
Oh, yeah.
succeed.
Oh, yeah.
So we give a kid $300 for each of the 4 GED tests that they pass, and so they walk out of.
I would bribe
graduation
them
with-
too. They deserve it.
My kids worked. They
Okay.
did it with my kids.
So now, I want to ask a question about you personally.
Sure.
So, you went to the library, you read this book, but there had to be something more, something deep inside of you that made you connect with that.
So they tell me. Yeah, so
Okay.
they tell me. Well, it happens that when I was 11, my family was in a horrible car accident.
Okay.
We rolled down a hill in Georgia over and over. It was amazing we all lived. There were 4 of us in the car.
Okay.
Only my mother had a seatbelt. And so anyway, my parents were stuck in a hospital in Georgia for a number of months. My brother and I were sent up north to live with what's called today kinship care. The relatives would take you. There was no foster care.
Right,
you
the
know, back
relatives,
then.
okay.
But the relatives would take you. So the relatives took us for a couple of months. And I kind of got a taste there of, first of all, what it felt like to be away from your family. And the most important part of that is when you're in your family, you have a chance to feel loved. Okay? And in my case, we had a great family. I mean, I never felt unloved
Right.
in my whole life. And all of a sudden, when you're outside of that, love is not something you get. At best, you get tolerated. Unless you mess up, then you get punished. So you get tolerated or punished, but there's no love involved in that, okay? And then the other thing is that it doesn't matter who's in your care, who's caring for you, eventually they're going to leave you with somebody else. Because they got to get away. They need some time. So then you start to get left with other people. And those other people can be, pretty psycho. So one night I was 11 years old and I got kicked out of the house into a snowstorm.
By who?
At 10 o'clock at night by a relative.
Okay.
Yeah. And broke my guitar and threw me out of the house.
At 11.
At 11 o'clock at night, or 10:30 at night, I was 11 years old, suitcase, snowstorm coming down. So I end up in a house where for the next 3 days I stayed there, and they were unpacking gunpowder to make a bomb. So I learned how to make a bomb that night. You see how life can spiral? And I talk about this like it went on forever. I'm talking about like maybe 2 months of time. Maybe 3. Now, can you imagine? There's a young man who's in our organization who has never lived anywhere but in a group home or a facility. He has never had a house, never had a front door key.
So, all right. So those 2 months, so your family all survived that accident?
Yeah, yeah,
Okay, so, and then you all got back together?
correct.
Okay. Did they kick that relative's butt for doing that to you?
Nope.
Okay, see, I would have.
And he lied.
Okay, that's the Italian in me.
He
Okay, I
lied.
would've
He
kicked
told
his
them
butt.
I broke my own guitar.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
So, okay, forget that for right now.
Yep.
So now, again, God bless you. What you're doing is unbelievable. I mean that from the bottom of my heart. And I knew there was something. I didn't know, but I knew there had to be something from your past a little bit,
Yeah.
because God allows us to go through things for a reason. Now look at all the children you're helping, okay? I mean, I went through addiction, my choices, my stupid choices, but I don't regret it because of all the people I'm helping now, right? So God bless you for that.
Thank you.
So now let's be silly here and have some fun. So that accident, probably you got knocked on the head, and that's why you became this crazy guitarist, comedian.
What can I tell you? You know, I try to write straight songs. I really
And you can't do it, can
I
you?
really do. No.
Okay.
First of all, I've been playing since I was 9.
Get a little closer, babe.
I've been playing since I was 9 years old. So
Okay.
next month will be my 61st anniversary of playing the guitar, and it's always been more of a hobby than a profession, you know. But I've always also worked very hard at it.
Okay.
And so I started writing songs really about 6 or 7 years ago, maybe 8 years ago, and I couldn't write a straight song. And you're going to hear this right now with the first one that I'm going to do. I started out writing a love song to my wife.
Happy birthday to your wife. She's here, our audience today.
She's here in
Yay!
the
Today's her
studio.
birthday.
She's incredible. My wife is a saint.
She is.
She puts up with me. I don't know how. Sometimes
Tell everyone her name.
I
Just
don't
tell
want.
them her
Robin
name.
is her name.
There you go.
And she's wonderful, wonderful human being. And so I wanted to write a love song to her, right? So I start out writing this song, and then it morphed into more of a tribute to all of womanhood, because I was thinking back into my past, and I remember, like, when I was growing up, it was not easy to be a woman. You had to ask your husband to do anything. There was one car, not two. You didn't have mobility. You know, so then it sort of went into a tribute to women, and then at the end of the first verse, it just like took a left turn, and here we are.
All right, so the song that I heard you rehearsing about women, that was supposed to be a love song to your wife?
That's how it started.
Okay, girl, happy birthday. I don't know how you do it, baby, okay? So before we get you up to the mic and do your craziness,
Sure.
let's talk a little bit about the comedy. Okay, because of me doing a lot of coaching, life coaching and all that, and the longer I've been in radio, I've come to find out that a lot of comedians, probably 99% of them, have had some trauma in their lives, and they use that to kind of cover it up or make them not feel the trauma. Is that correct in your?
Yeah, no.
Okay.
Actually, I think about that a lot, too,
Okay.
because I know I've studied a lot of comedians who are great. George
Right.
Carlin comes to mind.
Come on.
Really angry.
Okay.
I mean, this is a really
Yeah.
angry guy. And I saw an article written by an interview with Rain Pryor, Richard Pryor's daughter. She had an act, stand-up act. And I related to it instantly, because in the article she said, I'm just different. My comedy doesn't come from such a dark place.
Okay.
My comedy, I'm not that dark. I grew up happy. I didn't grow up that sad. And it just comes out now.
Okay.
I guess if you study enough comedians and you start to learn how punchlines land.
Like Robin Williams, you know?
Yeah, well, I mean, that's a different kind of genius,
Yeah.
right? And a curse in some ways, I
Yes.
suppose. But if when you learn all that stuff, then you start to hear conversation, and what comes to your head is the punchline in the conversation, and then you got to be really careful what you say in public, because you don't always want to be the guy who says a punchline to everything that you say, right? You have to be able to have genuine conversations with people. And genuine relationships, but after a while, the punchlines just come into your head, and you just put them in the back somewhere.
Do you know John Pizzi? Do you know the name?
No.
So John Pizzi was on AGT many moons ago, and Ruben and I just got to meet him, and he's a ventriloquist comedian, magician. Okay?
Okay.
So I don't usually laugh constantly. Like I just went to see Sebastian again with my cousins in New York. We've done this like 3 times. I cried and laughed through half of it, and the other half not really. All right, so I could not stop laughing with this guy on stage with his with his puppets, with his silly magic, and with his comedy because they were all one-liners.
Okay.
All right? And that is the best, right? One-liners, forget it. So everyone knows Ruben. You guys know Ruben, right? So he's half black, but he looks all black. And he's sitting next to me. And the puppet made fun of most of the people in the room, I believe, were Jewish. So the puppet made fun of all Jewish people, then Italians, then women, then Indian, everybody. But they didn't say anything about black people. So I yell, make fun of this black guy. And the puppet looked at him and went, guilty as charged. And we cried, okay? We cried. So I love one-liners. And I think as long as you don't use the F word in them, I think people still like it. Like, I think people still like being made fun of. You know?
Yeah, I mean, they don't like being, like totally ridiculed, but made fun of, yeah.
I love when people make fun of Italians. I'm like,
Yeah.
make fun of us.
Oh, that's good.
You know?
Yeah.
But, all right, so now, is there anything else you'd like to say about your comedy or your music before we get you up there?
Oh, let's do the song. Yeah.
All right, so now, when you come back, are you going to do all 3 first?
No,
How
I'm
are we
just
going to
gonna
do
do one,
one?
and we'll
Come
come back
back
and
and
we'll talk
talk
a little
about the song. Perfect.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
Guys, you're going to be entertained here.
I'm hopeful that the mic is
The
on.
mic is on. There you go.
One can only hope. We have a whole brain trust who's working on that right now. So yeah, this started out as a love song to my wife, and I don't know, you tell me what you think. This one goes out to all the women in the world because I think that you deserve recognition. I remember when a woman who wanted a career used to have to ask her husband permission. Must have really sucked to have a yoke around your neck, but now you've broken through to the executive deck. You feel the power, this is your hour to shine. But there's just one thing that you can't do, even with a magic wand. If you want to read the news on Fox, you got to be blonde. You got to be blonde. Now a Fox News host is a girl you meet in church, and I'm telling you straight, she makes it hard to concentrate. She's got 30 million fans and a chastity band and 2 upper body talents. Let's call them fair and balanced. She went to an all-girls school in Vermont where they taught her how to date without looking like a slut. And if you think that qualifies to be an oracle for the right, if you want to read the news on Fox, you got to be blonde. Got to be blonde. Now you could be a brunette with all the charm in the world, but the best job you'll get is as the weather girl. Redhead will get you the traffic girl gig, or maybe Sunday morning interviewing a pig. So let's review all the relevant facts. You need an attitude of privilege, a silver spoon mask. Then you grow up to be a calendar girl, wearing tight knit sweaters boys can't ignore. And when you win the beauty crown, you're on the fast track. You leave them in the dust behind with no look that you're behind. You're standing there thinking while you're shaking your fanny that maybe you're just Aryan eye candy. But you're not really worried, cause you figure you'll just sue them for $40 million and the public will just screw them. Mama didn't send you to Harvard for just the degree. You can be the first woman president, be a big fish in a big pond. But if you want to read the news on Fox, you got to be blonde.
And we will talk about that song.
Yeah. You know, well, I'll talk when I get to the mic.
Okay. Yes.
I wrote a song about, I don't know, 6 years ago. No, I'll tell you when it was. It was when Donald Trump was in his second month of being president. And I don't know if you remember this or not, but around the second, third month of presidency, everything about his presidency just looked like he was confused.
Okay.
You know, like he just, it was too much organization for one guy, right? So I wrote a song about that, and it was called I Really Thought This Would Be Easier, okay? And I'm in Florida, and I performed that at a club one night, and they loved everything I did, and then I played that, and it killed the room. I mean, after that, like, people would see me and they'd look away. They'd avert their gaze, you know? So I thought, okay, what I need to do is write a song that's anti-left, okay? And then I started asking, so I wrote a song called Are You Woke?
Okay.
And so I would ask the room, I would say, you know, who's Republican, who's Democrat? If everybody clapped that they were Republican, I say, okay, I'm going to do the Donald Trump song first. You're going to hate me, but then I'll do the Are You Woke song and I'll get redemption. And that was how I could play it.
Oh, that's pretty smart.
You know, kind of with both songs
Right.
that way. So whichever way the audience went, I could pander.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
You know, in the way that I wanted to. And the expression at that point was, you've written one song that pisses off half the room. Well, why not piss off the whole room, right? And that's comedy.
Yes.
So that, out of that, I think this kind of grew. Because the Trump song is old now. I mean, just dated. But now I have sort of a, you know, an anti-right, anti-left,
That's cool.
yin-yang
Yeah, I think that's pretty smart.
comedy.
So do you obviously know who Matt Rife is?
I'm sorry?
Matt Rife?
Who's Matt Rife?
Wait, for real? All right, you got to look up this kid.
Okay.
All right? He's the only comedian that I've given a pass to. He could curse all he wants. If I could get him, boy, honey, I will. The reason why this kid is so good, first of all, he's young. I'm assuming he's in his late 20s, maybe early 30s, maybe. But his father was never in his life, and his grandfather took care of him, and his mom. And his grandfather died recently, and he is so quick wit and incredible, but he's got an amazing heart like you do, and I mean that. And when he makes fun of people, even if they're in a wheelchair, they love him, and then he'll give them hugs. And, you know, so his heart is right there on his sleeve while he's doing this, and he's amazing. You got to check him out, Matt Rife.
Happy to.
Okay.
Yeah. You know, one of the best parts about doing comedy for me is, and also Age Out Angels, both of them, I get to hang with young people.
Yeah.
You know, and that's like the best thing in the world. I could go home to the over 55 and never see anybody, you know, who's under 60.
That's so funny.
And, you know, that's not life exactly.
Right.
You know, life is sharing with people of all ages and backgrounds.
So when you write these silly songs, what comes first? The idea, the music, or is it a mix?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a mix. There's ideas that come up all the time. But I was raised to be a musician.
Okay.
So I studied in college. I studied music theory and composition. I was supposed to write symphonies. That was a mistake. That was a big mistake. Symphonies are hard to write. I don't know if you ever noticed that.
I'm not a songwriter.
My God.
Okay, I'm not a musician at all. I'm a
No,
poet, but not music.
I was trained to write full orchestral works,
Oh, okay.
and I sucked. I mean, I wrote things that were so bad. And didn't realize, for like 30 years after that, after I raised a family and everything, didn't realize that where my talent, if I have it, led was at just songwriting.
Okay.
Just songwriting. And then a lady named Sherry Spiesel,
Okay.
20 years my senior. I met her singing I was accompanying a choir she was singing in. I was playing drums. And we just somehow became friends. And she called me up one day and said, Greg, I'm taking this comedy course with Steve Trevelise.
Oh, okay,
right?
Steve.
And Round Boy Jimmy Graham,
Yeah.
right? The course that was at Catch a Rising Star
Okay.
years ago. I'm taking this course. Tonight's graduation. Why don't you come and see me? I think you might like this. Right? So I went out and I saw Sherry do her 5 minutes at Catch a Rising Star. And I was like, yeah, you mean you can actually learn how to do this correctly? And I took the class with Steve and Jimmy Graham. And then I started trying to do straight stand-up. I thought, I've been schlepping instruments around town my whole life. Okay? I'm tired of schlepping. I'm either going to learn how to play the piccolo or I'm going to do straight stand-up with just a microphone, okay? So I'm doing straight stand-up and I'm entering contests and I'm not winning. And one day I was talking to Trevelise and he found out that I could play the guitar. And he said, you're like crazy. If that's your act, man, that separates you from everybody else.
That's right.
Is to be able to do that. So thanks, Steve.
Yes.
And so, that's sort of how it came about. And so then I started playing the guitar, and I still wasn't winning. And then it became very obvious that if you're going to win comedy competitions, and if you're going to play in a lot of comedy clubs, you got to be dirty.
Oh, wait, so you weren't dirty back
No.
then?
Oh, no. I was like squeaky clean back then.
See, I would love that.
Yeah, well, audiences really don't. They want to be titillated, especially when you're in a club, people are drinking a little bit, And now my act isn't dirty. It's
Right.
suggestive.
Yes,
you
yes.
know, but it's not dirty. So Robin and I actually sat down one day. We didn't sit. We were actually in the pool, if I recall. And we're like, okay, what am I going to do now? I got to figure out a way to break out of this clutter of mediocre comics. And so we wrote the single most vulgar 5-minute song that you could possibly imagine. Okay?
And you're not singing it today, right?
No.
Okay, good. Thank you.
I haven't seen it.
What's it called? Tell us about it, though.
Oh, it's called Logistics.
Okay.
And I mean, it was so filthy, I was embarrassed to do it. And I never lost a competition where I did that song.
For real.
For real. If I enter Philly's Funniest, I'm going to lead with that. It's can't miss.
That's sad to me.
Go figure.
All right.
One time, oh God, my kid was there one time. My son was there one time when I did it, and a couple of his Boy Scout friends.
All righty then.
Still embarrassed about that. Am I blushing?
You are. He really is.
Because I don't do that. I'm just, I'm not
That's
a vulgar
crazy.
guy.
Yeah.
But, you either want to win or you don't.
All right, so hit us with another one.
You want another song?
Yes.
Outstanding.
Yes.
Okay, so I wrote this song, and I called it 10 Cent Head. Okay?
10 cent.
10 Cent Head.
Okay.
All right? Now, when you do that in a bar with a bunch of drunk people, and you say that title, it's highly suggestive.
Yes.
Okay. And that is absolutely, positively not what the song is about.
Okay.
All right? 10 Cent Head is about how the world has changed and we get more information about the people we hero worship than we ever got before in the past. We know way too much about the people we admire. And what we learn usually is that someone we admire may be like exceptionally world class at one thing, but their lives are typically way more screwed up than yours and mine.
Okay, right.
You know, they have a lot of weird stuff going on. So that's really what this song is about. Shall I do it?
Okay, you shall do it. Okay, producer.
Hello again. My mama said when I was only 3, you should never get to know your heroes personally. Lift them up to such high esteem, best to not to know they're different than they seem. You have to wonder why athletic stars shoot themselves and beat up their fans in bars. 3 players now serving life in jail, plus the one who thinks that dog fighting shows you care. They get roid rage and a little bit later they punch out their girlfriend on the elevator. Crash fancy cars, that's really sad when there are 30,000 children who can call you dad. My mama said when I was just 6, celebrities are probably the biggest freaks. 100 million people go to see their film. They think their fame will let them do what they will. They drink and they drive, and when they get pulled over, they try to blame the Jews for their big hangover. Even Dr. Seuss was a total scam. When he died, on his face were green eggs and ham. They use Jesus just to help their public image. Adopt enough kids to hold a football scrimmage. Try to make us change our ideology and join them in the practice of Scientology. And so I tell my daughter, don't try to be just like those models that you see on TV. Everyone loves them, but everyone knows that after meals they stick their fingers down their throat. It could be anyone of any occupation. Be worried if your boss shows up to work with lubrication. Write your local congressman one simple request. Ask him if he's got an intern chained under his desk. My mama said, sonny, don't be dumb. Hero worship never helped anyone. Sometimes they're normal, but the ones to dread have $1 million talent and a 10-cent head. There you go.
Really good. All right, come on back.
Coming back. I'm coming back.
Guys, he will be doing another song, one final song, okay, guys? So, all right. So now that was pretty funny. About how many songs have you written?
Maybe 15.
Okay, have you recorded them?
No, I'm starting that now.
Okay, you have to.
I am going to. My plan now is to do one a month for the next 10 months, and get them out into a YouTube channel
Okay.
so that people can actually go and see them and access them, and hopefully tell their friends,
Right.
you know, about them. That would be sort of nice to share it with a wide
Yes,
audience.
Ruben can help you with recording as well here.
Outstanding.
He does all that. And also my producer put my book to audio. So I didn't want Simon and Schuster to put my book to audio because this is my life, my passion, and I wanted it to be my voice. So my producer, Ruben, put my book to audio, and he's done so many more now, and he's also available. If any authors out there would like to, you could get in touch with me. I'll hook you up with him, okay? So he does an amazing job.
Cool.
Yep. So, oh, you know what? Let me read a poem out of my book now. All right. So, I like reading this poem when I do performers because I'm going to get messages about you too, good, bad, or indifferent after the next song, I have a feeling. Animal lovers are going to hate you.
Oh, the wildlife
Okay,
orgy.
yes, okay? Listen, he's awesome. And, you know, people message me like, I wish I could sing like him. I wish I could play the guitar. I wish I could dance like her, like whatever it is. And I want everybody out there to know that you all have something to offer, okay? You know, God didn't make us any better than you, but you have to figure out what your gift is and utilize it. So when I wrote this poem, I was thinking of you if you're struggling out there with your self-worth. It's called Utilizing Gifts and Talents. We are born with talents, we are born with drive, with different gifts to help us thrive. I knew early on I was born to draw and paint, to also write poetry, and to talk without restraint. Our gifts and talents should all be used, God's gift to us not be abused. We can go far in life for sure, using our gifts to go on tour. All our talents should be used to create ourselves and more, but then our job's to share them, to even up the score. You see, in life, what's needed is not just for ourselves. Once our gifts are mastered, take them off the shelves. A living we can make by spreading them around, not just for the money, but to spread a peaceful sound. So don't take for granted the gifts you're given. Go out and spread the joy. Our gifts are not to be held back for us to self-destroy. Put your efforts forth. Do not hesitate. All your talents, my friend, are never second rate. Never hold them back or you will surely die. Maybe not in body, but your soul will cry. Our gifts were made to share, our talents made to soar. Go through life enlightened, and then you can roar. Be proud of who you are. Be happy you're alive. Once again, my friend, your gifts will help you thrive. By putting efforts forth, not keeping them at bay, your name, Greg Rapport, baby, will live forever, forever and a day. So go through life excited for what you sure can give. To yourself and others is our reason to live. Our grave will be quite lonely, but our legacy lives on. So make sure people smile with the breaking dawn. And Greg,
That's beautiful.
thank you.
That really is beautiful.
You're doing that on so many levels. You're doing that so much more than your music, so much more than your comedy, what you're doing for all these children. Okay? What's going to end up happening one day is it could be in 10 years from now, right? You could be really old, okay? You could be like walking with a cane and somebody's going to tap you on the shoulder and say, I remember you and thank you. Years ago, I had a poker league, and I'm a poker player and dealer, but it was called Ms. Night Owl Poker, and we were in different restaurants all over Mercer County. It was a free league. And I'm doing a game one night in town, and one of my poker dealers and we went into the ladies' room, so we're talking. Someone in the stall yells out, Miss Geri? I said, yes, and this young African-American woman, beautiful young woman, walks out, and she says, you won't remember me, I'm Tiana, and my sister's Kiana, and I started crying. So I lived in Foxmore condos when they first built them, Robbinsville condos back in the day. We're going in the 80s, guys, okay? And the two young girls and her mom lived upstairs from me. They were beautifully dressed. They were beautiful. I never knew they were struggling financially, but I would give them, I'm Italian, I'm a cook. I mean, I cook for everybody, so I would feed them all the time. And I even took the kids on vacation one year. She starts crying and telling me they had no money, and because of me, they were able to eat, and remembers that vacation. I'm crying in the bathroom because I didn't even know that. So what you're doing, now imagine that. Imagine what you're doing. So that's going to happen, Greg. It will happen, trust me. Yeah. And be prepared because you're going to break down.
Oh, I'm sure.
Right?
Yeah.
And God is looking down at you smiling. And if we could just have more people like you, these children wouldn't have to worry.
Sweet.
So now take the mic. You talk a little bit more.
Okay. Well, you know, apropos to your poem, what I was thinking about while you were reading that.
Making it a song.
Well, many of the children that I work with, you know, have been severely traumatized. And when you're trying to discover your gift,
Yep.
there's nothing like trauma to keep that from you.
Yep.
You know, it is just so incredibly debilitating. And one of the things that we're trying to do right now, in fact, is to work with mental health professionals we're not looking for cures. That's a long-term prospect, right? But can they work with children in a way that will enable the children to compartmentalize their trauma so they can think,
Wow.
sleep, right? I have children who don't sleep
Right.
because the lights go out and the demons
Right.
enter their heads.
Right.
So how can we work together with the mental health industry just to help them cope so they can get to the place where they can earn enough money to live, and then they can spend the rest of their lives healing. It'd be great, but at least be able to earn enough money to have a life. Learn what it means to really fall in love. I mean genuine love. Not the love that so many of the girls I know seek because they've never had a man in their life who's done anything but abuse them.
That's right.
You know what I mean? So it's that trauma that is so debilitating. And I think we're actually starting to understand that to be a part of what womanhood has been too, because what's coming out now are all these things about, the percentage of women who are not just catcalled, but actually literally assaulted, as they're growing up. And that's, when you ask what can we do to change things, well, let's stop beating each other up. Let's start there.
Yeah.
Let's stop abusing children and women and all those people and allowing them to grow up developmentally sound so that their gifts really can emerge.
So I don't know if you saw this or not, but recently, within the last month, I interviewed the real Patch Adams. Remember the movie, guys?
Sure. Yeah.
Robin Williams played him. And, all this stuff was told to me by one of his assistants about mental health care in this country. And, I counsel a lot of people, men and women, who were abused on so many different levels, okay? And this country is not great with mental health care. It's just not. And that's what's sad, too. And you have these poor children that are coming out of foster care. A lot of them are mentally damaged, most of them. And we're not doing what we should do in this country to help everybody.
Especially at that age,
Yes.
Because they have a chance.
That's right. They have
really
a chance.
Do.
Yes.
They have a chance to go on and.
That's right.
And what we just characterize the whole thing is go on and
That's right.
find the joy.
That's right.
In life, and their lives don't have that much. Now you see we're juxtaposing the work that I do with Age Out Angels and traumatized people with comedy music, and the joke there is when people invite me to their cocktail party, the last thing you want to do is ask me what I do, because I will kill your cocktail party.
Oh, my
In
God.
5 minutes, I'll have your guests crying and writing checks. That's what'll happen in the next 5 minutes. So maybe we should go do the last song, huh?
Okay.
What do you say? This song, you asked, what the process is. Well, this came totally from my daughter.
Okay.
Who's a staunch conservationist.
Oh.
Okay, no, my daughter is a forest ranger at Yosemite.
Oh, that's so cool.
And her job is trees, to save the sequoias.
Okay.
Okay, that's her job. So she's, a real naturalist. And she called me up one day and she said, Daddy, I want you to write a song called Dolphins Are Assholes.
Why? If
And-
she's a real naturalist, I'm just curious.
And, well, I didn't ask that. I just said, okay, it feels like a bossa nova to me. So, and then it evolved into what you're about to hear, which is the wildlife orgy.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, here we go.
You never know where that inspiration's going to come from.
Oh, my God.
Bossa nova. You've all heard the ads on TV that say, save the animals, we have to save the animals. It makes you feel good, plus they send you a shirt. But what if I said to you, beware the kangaroo, they'll kick you in the nuts, and then they'll steal your lunch. But which one do you think is the worst of the bunch? Dolphins are assholes. Yeah, they act sweet and nice, but dolphins just rape and plunder like pirates of ice. The shrimp and the turtles all know that dolphins are the lowest of the low. Their phony-ass grin hides the sin they swim in. Dolphins are assholes. So if you're wondering if this is really true, I assure you that it's really nothing new. It's one big bangaroo in all the parks and lakes and zoos. Then penguins eat their young, chimps try to conquer some, koalas pee on you, and monkeys fling their poo. They're all just felons in furry little suits. Which brings me to duck rape. Yeah, it really is a thing. And I can tell you that ducks get upset if you break up their gangbanging. And ducks are not species specific. They'll hump a peacock in a minute. And when they are done, roosters better had run. Because ducks are assholes. Oh, it's the wildlife orgy where half have fun and the other half are just sorgy. Orangutans, bedbugs, sea otters, and snails all have one thing in common. They're all known for being exceptionally horny. And they don't have remorse or sorrow. They don't sing, "Will you still love me tomorrow?" It must have been quite a party when Noah built the Arky. 1,000,000 species humping when the lights went darky. All in the wildlife orgy. So if you find yourself swimming in the sea and you chance upon a friendly manatee, there may be reason he wants to snuggle and woo. You'll think it's proof for sure that your vibe is pure. You'll think that you should have a segment on the news, but his only goal is to impregnate you. And since manatees live in Florida, let me be firm. You just might have to carry that baby to term in the wildlife orgy, where half have fun and half are sorgy. You can name your baby Georgie. Thank you.
Oh my gosh. I still want to know why your daughter called you up and said to write that song.
You know,
All right. Come on, there's got to be something you know. All right, come on.
She was actually working at that time in her trade, and she had done a lot of research. And dolphins are just horrible. They are gang rape is like typical among dolphins. They'll kill other species, things. I mean, they're just so
I
weird.
didn't know that.
And she goes, I want you to write this song. And the other part of what she said was, can you do it by Friday? Because I'm doing a PowerPoint presentation.
That's cool. So I never knew that. I love dolphins. I swam with the dolphins. I've even swam with sharks.
Yes.
I love animals.
Mhm.
I've been to all the zoos in Australia. I laid down with kangaroos and hugged all the, I mean, I love it. I didn't know that.
We swam with the dolphins.
Yeah.
We scubaed with dolphins.
Yeah, me too.
I thought it was cool.
Yeah. That's so funny. All right.
Do
Very
you know
cool.
what's going on in their minds?
Listen, I do now.
Yep, you're out there, and you're on the back of the dolphin, and
Okay.
the dolphin's going, how can I flip this thing over on this guy?
Oh my gosh, that's so funny. So,
There you have it.
All right, so now I'm going to give the mic back to you. Is there anything that you want to share that maybe you forgot or you weren't thinking about? Because I don't want you to be done and say, I forgot the most important thing, or to talk about this. The mic is yours, and you
Absolutely.
can look out to everyone and talk to them.
Okay, because this goes to a lot of places, right?
Yep.
This show. This has a
Oh, yes.
very far reach. Okay, I really need you to contact me if you are interested in devoting 4 hours a week to help tutoring the young people in our program. We have over 40 volunteer tutors from all over the country, okay? And you have to be either good at language or good at math. Those
Okay.
are the two. Those are the two things you have to be good at. And I can tell you, good math tutors are hard to come by.
I'm laughing because I stink at math. Go ahead.
Exactly.
Ruben's good at math.
But please, if you could, go to our website, which is www.ageoutangels.org. Or you could just look me up on Facebook or anywhere else. I'm so findable.
Get in touch with me. I'll hook you up.
And just let me know that you have the time to devote 4 hours a week, 2-hour segments, to helping a young person make it from abject poverty to the middle class in one big jump. And we'd love to have you. We have people from all over the country now. So whatever your time zone is, it doesn't matter. Just please.
Is it online?
It's virtual on Zoom,
Okay.
or WhatsApp or whatever works, for everybody. Everyone's technology has to match. But please, 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 we are in need of tutors right now because the Bridges program is growing at a pace that's actually a little faster than we can put tutors trained and
Wow,
ready.
okay.
Now, to be a tutor in our organization, there's a couple of things. You have to go through some training. It's about an
Okay.
hour and a half. So it's not that long, but you have to be trauma informed. You must know what the people you're serving have gone through.
Yeah.
Not individually, because that's
Right.
nobody's business.
That's right.
But generally, the trauma is something that you have to understand in order to be an effective tutor to someone who's been kind of punished in that way. So, and I advise people, if you do work with young people in any organization and they don't train you in trauma, to run screaming from that organization, because you could do more harm than good to a child.
I bet.
That's what I want people to know, man. If you're interested in volunteering to be a tutor, I would love to meet you.
Okay, guys. So, first of all, I want to thank you, Greg. This
Thank you.
was amazing and inspiring, and I think you're unbelievable.
You too.
Amazing. And guys, listen, please share this show, okay? Not only will people laugh and giggle at his silliness, which was great, okay? They'll really get something out of this and maybe enough to help someone out there. Because listen, one person, it takes one person, okay, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And, I don't want people thinking like, well, I'm not enough, and you are enough. So please take this seriously. And if any of you maybe wanted to be a teacher back in the day and you missed your calling, give this guy a call, all right? And I'm sure you don't have to be great in math, but you got to be good. Like, I suck in math, okay? But, give this guy a call, all kidding aside. All right? And I want to thank your wife for hanging out with us on her birthday. Happy birthday again, girl. Okay, this was great. Is there anything else you'd like to close with?
Just thank you so very much for doing this, and to echo your sentiment. If one person from this show volunteers, to help a child, then think what a home run you did
Home
today
run.
to be able to do this. And if 3 or 4 people volunteer, man,
That would
that's
be
a grand
amazing.
slam.
That would be amazing.
Yeah.
So, guys, take this seriously, okay? If you're home doing nothing, hanging out, please get in touch with us. Thank you.
Okay.
All
Thanks
right,
so much.
producer, take us out.
Ladies and gentlemen, Geri Petito.
I'm not an addict, I'm just an ass. And in time, this too shall pass. I'm not an addict, I'm just an ass. Geri Petito taught the class. I'm not an addict, I'm just an ass. Loves the answer, the greener grass. I'm not an addict, I'm just an ass. One day at a time, free at last.
When you don't know just what to do.
Just what to do, just what to do.
If what you're feeling is really true.
Is it really true? Is it really true?
Just keep your ideas safe and sound.
Safe and sound, safe and sound.
That's exactly how change is found.
Change is found, change is found. I'm not an addict, I'm just an ass. And in time, this too shall pass. I'm not an addict, I'm just an ass. Geri Petito taught the class. I'm not an addict, I'm just an ass. Love's the answer, the greener grass. I'm not an addict, I'm just an ass. One day at a time, free at last.